Am I the a-hole for not buying gifts for my ex's child? Ex and I share a 16-year-old son together. 6 years ago, he cheated on me and got the other woman pregnant, and I filed for divorce. We got married straight after but broke up, and then got back together. Right now, they are still together, but their relationship is turbulent, to say the least. Because of this, they often find themselves in financial difficulty, and their recently turned 6-year-old daughter has suffered because of it. I'm not part of her life. I never could be after we cheated, and my son is kind of the same. He was old enough to realize that Dad moving out and in with another woman who was giving him a baby sibling meant that Dad had likely cheated. I put him in therapy, but I never had it in me to be part of his half-sister's life, even if it meant I didn't make much of an effort to get close to her. The last year has hit everyone hard, but from what my son has said, X has been hit very hard. Things went to crap in his house, and he spent thousands fixing the roof, then a plumbing issue, and then a broken window. It was X's daughter's 6th birthday 2 weekends ago. X's parents always took care of getting my son a gift from him to his half-sister, but they never really got her much. X emailed me about our son. We needed to discuss medical stuff about our son, and then dropped stuff about buying his daughter gifts into those emails. I told him I would not be buying gifts when he kept dropping it in despite my ignoring him. My son said his half-sister got basically nothing for her birthday. Nothing special anyway, and she was sad. Max told me it was my fault, and I should have got her something as the mom of her brother. I was venting to one of my friends about it, and she said my ex is kinda right. That she was the affair child and she ended up in the spot of never being as wanted as her half-siblings, and feeling the impact of less people making less effort. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I really think the word audacity fits the situation. You're not the kid's mama/auntie. She's the kid of the side piece who backstabbed a married woman. You have zero responsibility to do anything other than not be mean to her kid or not block your son's relationship with her kid. Demanding you spend your money to please her kid? No. Yes, except I'd be more upset with my ex since it was his marriage and he cheated. Not stay home. Not stay home. Why isn't the ex buying a gift for his son to give his half-sibling? Isn't that usually how it works? You never ask the cheated on person to buy your new kid a present. Ever. Not stay home. The child is innocent, but you owe them nothing. You and the child have no relationship, and they should not expect anything from you. Info. How much time does your son spend with you and your ex? We had shared custody, but since last year he has been spending less and less time with him. If your son feels that he wants to provide her with a holiday gift this year, as in he decides as a big brother to do this not because his dad is guilt-tripping him, you could support him in doing that. You aren't obligated to finance such gift, but helping him to choose something age and interest appropriate might be a good bonding moment as mom and son. It could be an opportunity where you're actively acknowledging that the child is an innocent party without diminishing the shared pain that you and your son have from the entire situation. Completely agree that you're not the a-hole here, and based on what I've seen in my own family tree, start getting hands-on about responsible finance habits with your son if you haven't already. That includes setting boundaries. I wouldn't be surprised if your ex starts asking your son for help once he has a stable income of any sort. My ex told me it was my fault and I should have got her something as the mom of her brother. So, he's one of those guys who just pulls complete nonsense out of his butt? I would have fell on the floor laughing. Yeah, the child is blameless and is in a hard spot. But she also has absolutely nothing to do with you. There are hordes of innocent children in tough situations, and you owe this girl nothing more than you owe any other impoverished child. Also, the fact that your ex is so entitled to think you're obligated to fund his affair child's birthday gift is just total horse manure. With that sense of logic and entitlement, no wonder his life is in the toilet. Not the a-hole. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for demanding my ex give me back my family baby blanket after learning truth? This happened a few weeks ago. Baby girl I, 27 male, thought was mine has another father. 3 months after she was born, I posted pictures of her with my ex-girlfriend of 5 years. Guy reaches out to me saying he was with her, had no idea she was in a relationship, and baby might be his. Well, as it turns out after we did a paternity test, I'm not her father. My ex moved out of our apartment with her daughter and living with her mom for now. I've still been pissed off and hurt. Then I found out she took the baby blanket my great-grandma made herself when she moved out since I couldn't find it anywhere in my apartment. It's been passed down in our family whenever a new baby is born. Wanted to pass it down to my kids, so that's why I was given the blanket when my ex got pregnant. I drove to her mom's house and demanded she give the blanket back since I want to have it for my future kids. My ex didn't want to. I don't know if it to be petty because it's not like she doesn't have other baby clothes, blankets, and stuff. But she claimed it was a gift for the baby, and you can't demand to be given a gift back. My argument was that the gift was meant for a baby that I was tricked into thinking is mine, and I would like it back because neither of them is my family anymore. We fought back and forth till she gave it to me. Her mom was telling me crap the following day. Then she went and complained on Twitter that I stole our baby's blanket. Most of our friends are calling her nonsense because everyone knows what went down. But still there are some who think I went too far with demanding to have the blanket given back. I'm not sure why. It's my family's blanket, and in the future I want that for my actual kids, not let it be taken by someone who lied and hurt me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Simple. It is a blanket meant for your baby. This baby is not yours. If you had decided to raise the baby as yours regardless of DNA, I'm sure you would have let her keep the blanket. More than that, it's a blanket meant for Opie's great-grandmother's great-great-grandchild. This baby isn't in that line. In a sense, Opie's only stewarding the blanket on behalf of his family for the next generation. It isn't even really his to give away. Ex-girlfriend should have had the grace to leave it behind when she moved back with her own family. Not stay home. Not stay home. Put her on blast and social media with, and wanted a family heirloom intended for my child back. She lied about me being the father. Let me and my family get attached to baby that wasn't mine. Which is really worse here. Ditch anyone who sides with her after that. Everyone who's telling me this knows what she did to me, but they're looking at it like I'm taking this out on the baby by taking the blanket away. It's a family heirloom, not some random blanket you bought at Walmart. You aren't taking anything away from her baby. A baby does not need a blanket to survive. Not stay home. It's a family heirloom and that's not your baby. I'm sorry your ex made you believe the child was yours. I'm sure that was hard news to receive. Still hurts a lot, yes. I feel like an idiot, but I'm trying to process it. Glad to have it back though, and space away from her now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law crazy and kicking her out of my husband's house because she wants him to basically leave me? My 24 female husband, 25 male, and I just had a beautiful baby girl 2 months ago. His mom is a self-made entrepreneur, and she's honestly an inspiration to me. She is strong, intelligent, had fought hard for everything she owns, and before I got pregnant, we got along just fine. She supported me in my professional decisions and never showed any sign of not approving our relationship. When we told my husband's parents that we were pregnant, his dad congratulated us and looked so happy to be a grandfather. His mom? Not so much. She quickly asked us what we were gonna do, and that if we wanted to terminate, she'd support us. She believed that we both had promising futures, and if we had a baby this early in our careers, we'll never fulfill our dreams. But my husband and I assured her that we had everything planned. We both agreed that I was gonna dedicate a year to our daughter, and then I was gonna get back on the field. We never asked them for a penny, and neither of us waited for them to fund our new lifestyle. My mother-in-law didn't like it. My husband had a good job, had just enrolled himself in a master's degree, and now he's gonna be a father and a breadwinner of the house. For her, it was too much on his shoulders. So a few days ago, she came to my house and proposed an experiment to me. She told me that during the rest of the year I was gonna be a stay-at-home mom. I could go back to my parents, and this will allow my husband to come home and rest after a long day of work or school, and during the weekends he could go to me and visit us if he had the energy to do so. I said that it wasn't fair since she was our daughter and not just mine, and that she couldn't expect my husband to not have any kind of responsibility towards her. She said that after I ruined my husband's life with an early baby, that's the least I could do. That I was gonna grow comfortable after 1 year of doing basically nothing. And that if my husband was lucky, this would end in a divorce, which for her, it's the best outcome by now. I couldn't believe what she's proposing to me, and told her that she was crazy for even thinking that, and that our baby didn't appear magically in my belly. I kicked her out, and when my husband came home, I told him everything, and we decided to cut contact with his mom. But I can't get the fact that she said I ruined his life out of my head. I'm not planning on being a stay-at-home mom forever. And to be honest, I do want to get back to work. I'm an architect while my husband is an engineer, and I very much enjoy my career. He does come tired from work, but our baby isn't a big problem. She doesn't rip her lungs out when she cries, and we get to calm her very easily. Also, it's not like I'm home doing nothing. I do small projects for my friend's firm every now and then as a freelancer, and I have a position waiting for me there. My husband and I just decided that I had to remain available for our daughter the first year in case anything happens because this is our first baby. Now for the comments. Jesus Christ. Of course you didn't ruin his life. You were both at the conception, right? You were both there when you decided to keep it, right? Don't belittle your husband like his stupid mother does. Not day home. I was just coming to comment the same thing. His mother does know that it takes two to tango, yeah? She really does have no confidence in his abilities to adopt, doesn't she? Not day home. Your mother-in-law is a straight-up monster. Mothers who get attached to their sons so strongly creep me the hell out. It was bad enough she suggested to terminate the baby, but her behavior now is just bizarre. Not day home. Not day home. Not only is your mother-in-law a jerk for saying something like this, but my parents waited to have kids, and my mom regrets it, as does my dad. They are not in their prime, and with a 7 and 10-year-old, it's hard on them. I'm entering college. Big jump in ages, I know. And my dad says how he had to actually ask for a downgrade in work and pay because he couldn't do as good a job to care for my siblings. My mom is in menopause, while my sister is going through puberty. It's like a war zone in the house. Have a child when you can enjoy it. You can enjoy your daughter now. You have everything planned. You're doing great. If your husband had a problem with this, he would say so. And he definitely wouldn't have agreed to cut off his mom if he agreed with her. I am not saying having a child later in life is bad. Just it's best for different people at different times. My parents would have been better having children at a younger age, while others may do better at an older age, while others shouldn't have kids. I'm sorry if my answer seemed negative towards any age group or parenting. Edit. Thank you all for all your inputs. My mother-in-law hasn't always been like this, but after we decided to have the baby, her behavior changed completely. I'll answer some of the questions you left. Again, thank you so much. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for losing my temper with my sister after she kept trying to get me to move with her and her family? I'm 27 female, and my sister is 32 with 3 kids and married. When I graduated from high school, my parents decided they wanted to move back to their home state. I stayed with my sister for 2 years while I worked to save money before going to college. While I am grateful to my sister and her husband for letting me stay there, I had no privacy whatsoever. My sister charged me an outrageous amount for rent when she told my parents she wasn't going to, nearly half my small paycheck. And I was expected to watch and babysit my nieces and nephew at a moment's notice, or just because. Like one morning, I woke up to not only my nieces and nephew, but their friends all in the house. And my sister and her husband had left to go to New Orleans without telling me. I was suddenly responsible for 3 kids plus their 4 friends. They were gone for 2 days. I missed work because no one else could watch the kids. I moved out as quickly as possible and now stay in a small apartment. It's not the best, but it doesn't have rats and roaches, and I have a roof over my head. I also currently work full-time instead of part-time. Lately, my sister has been on this kick about us moving back in together. I don't know what has brought this up. Something about how in other cultures families live together forever or something? Her and her husband have been making plans to move to Washington for better jobs and schools. Let me just say I am happy with the small town we live in. Will I like to move one day? Yes, but on my terms. She's been trying to convince me to come with them and live with them again. Each time I have declined because I know full well what will happen if I move back in with my sister. I voiced my concerns before, saying that I like living alone because I have my space, peace and quiet, privacy, and I'm planning on going back to school in the fall. Also, I will not be a live-in babysitter for her kids ever again. She keeps saying those things are in the past, and that I need to get over it. Yesterday, she sent me a link to a virtual house tour, saying this was the house they were thinking about buying, and it had a separate apartment in the basement I could stay in. Also that she would charge me rent this time. I admit I lost it. I called her and told her to not text, call, or email about me moving in ever again. I don't want to move to Washington, and I don't want to live with her. She called me ungrateful and claimed she only wanted to help me get out of this town, but I hung up on her. My parents called me later on. That today I need to apologize because my sister only wanted us to stay a family, and I didn't have to say what I said. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She wants a babysitter. Tell your parents that she charged you rent and did not pay you for babysitting. Also tell the parents that indentured servitude does not mean family. Info. How much do your parents know about what your life was like living with your sister? And if they know, do they care? Oh, they know. It came out a couple years ago about what happened, and all I got was, well, you were living with her. It was the least you could do for her. I paid rent, cooked, cleaned, and of course watched the kids. I was only working part-time, and she took $275 of my $400 paychecks. Lately, my sister has been on this kick about us moving back in together. I don't know what has brought this up. She needed a live-in babysitter that pays rent. Nobody else is going to do it, so she and your parents will hound you. Not a hole. I don't know what has brought this up. She's probably pregnant again. I hope not. She said she's been reading about how in some cultures, whole families live together. Parents, grandparents, kids, uncles, aunts, and etc. And wanted us to be closer as a family. I don't know if she's talked my parents into this.
Am I the a-hole for not allowing my ex-wife to see our daughter? My ex-wife and I have a daughter together, who's now 4 years old. We were together for about 3 years total, 2 years dating and 1 year married. After our daughter was born, she lasted about 2 months, before telling me, and these were her exact words, "I don't want to be a mom." She voluntarily relinquished her parental rights not long after. We ended up going back and forth in court for nearly a year over child support, because she argued, and again, her actual words, women shouldn't pay child support. Since then, she's had zero contact with our daughter. Not a birthday card, not a gift, not even a "how is she doing?" We live in a small town, so it's not like distance is a factor. She's just never cared. Fast forward to now. I've recently started seeing someone, my first relationship since the divorce. She has a son just a month older than my daughter, and the 2 kids have become best friends. Things have been going really well. Then out of nowhere, my ex finds out about the relationship and suddenly wants to be involved again. She says that another woman shouldn't be raising her child, which she's not. I am. She's also been throwing around threats about trying to get custody, even though she voluntarily gave up her rights and legally can't. I honestly don't even think she understands how any of that works. So now I'm just sitting here like, am I wrong for wanting to shut all of this down? She had 4 years to be in our daughter's life and never once showed interest until someone else stepped in. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Yes, she messed up. But you're not going to enjoy the convo when your teenage kid asks why you forbade contact with the person who birthed them. People change, people grow, don't get left behind. But she's made it more than clear. She's decided she wants to be in her life now solely because of the other woman. I just didn't think that would be a good reason for wanting to see your kid, as opposed to just wanting to because you're her mom. Maybe I'm wrong though, I don't know to be honest. Dude, it's not your choice. She has a legal right to be in her child's life whenever she chooses. And if she take it to court, she will be awarded at the very least some visitation. Do you know how many single mothers have to deal with absent dads who come in and out of our child's life? We would love to tell them to F off, but parents have rights too, unfortunately. Kindly, I'm advising you to let the court handle it and don't prevent a relationship between your daughter and her mother. Your daughter will learn the truth on her own. Technically, she doesn't have any legal rights when it comes to our daughter. When she gave up her rights, it was outright stated it can't be undone. Relinquishing rights is completely different than being awarded custody. Not the a-hole. She's playing games and will drop as soon as she causes enough trouble. Might want to notify daycare babysitters, schools wherever she goes that the birth mother does not have custody and has no visitation, so she can't show up there and take your daughter. This is very smart, thanks. I will definitely do this ASAP. Agreed. I knew a dad/kiddo who had dealt with a kidnapping attempt. Most kidnappings are done by non-custodial parents. The metric you should use in deciding if someone is a part of your kid's life is, will they hurt her? As long as you believe, as I do, that your ex will get overwhelmed/bored and wander away without regard to your daughter's feelings, you're absolutely doing the right thing by keeping her away. Not the a-hole. This is tough. I agree she is probably doing this because of your current relationship, and not because of any real interest in having a relationship with her daughter. But what if she has had a genuine change? Would you want to deny your daughter the chance to have her in her life? I would talk with your lawyer to be sure everything is covered legally. But I would also consider talking with a therapist for advice on how to proceed in the best way for your daughter. Exactly. As much as I don't like her, I have consistently hoped for her to reach out over the past 4 years strictly for my daughter's sake. Just for her to reach out because of pettiness really sucks. Next story. Am I the a-hole for considering leaving my wife over her daughter? I, 33 male, have been with my wife, 34 female, for 10 years, married for 3. My wife has a daughter with her ex. She is now 13. I used to have a great relationship with her. I was her dad. Last January 2025, her biological dad showed up, and now I'm considering ending my marriage because my life has been a nightmare. She stays with him a few days a week. She started repeating the same insults that her dad calls me. I told my wife, and she said that her daughter's going through a lot of changes and to be patient with her. Her soccer team needed a coach, so I volunteered, since I've been playing soccer since I was a kid. She has started making fun of me in front of the other kids. Yesterday, I said out loud that if anyone disrespects the coach or other players, they would be benched for 2 sessions. Then, within 15 minutes, in the middle of practice, she called me a pussy-ass bitch, which is what her dad calls me, because she didn't like my decision on the pitch. So I told her, "You're sitting on the bench." She apparently texted her mom and dad. When we got home, they were both furious at me. He was supposed to pick her up. They said I humiliated their daughter to boost my ego. My stepdaughter giggled. I told them what she called me. My wife said, "I asked you to be extra kind to her. It's your job as a stepdad." Her dad said, "That's because you are a pussy-ass bitch." My wife told him to stop. My stepdaughter left with her dad. I told my wife, "I can't do this anymore." She said, "So, bailing out like a coward instead of stepping up?" I've been thinking all night, am I being an insecure jerk? Is this even salvageable? My wife doesn't even acknowledge that her ex has brainwashed my stepdaughter, or that it's inappropriate for her to call me that after all I've done for her over the last 10 years. Not the a-hole. If you're communicating your feelings clearly to your wife, and she isn't listening, what's the point of hanging about waiting until you hate her? Shrug your shoulders and walk. She thinks my stepdaughter is a teen, and goes through so much, so I should just be extra kind and patient. No, she doesn't. She just doesn't want to put forth any effort to be a good parent or spouse. It's easier to tell the cooperative, nice, safe person to shut up and put up, rather than try to deal with the actual problem. The goal is not a happy family, it's to make her life easier. Father just showed up? He's causing problems? She needed to tell him to straighten up, or wait until the kid is 18 to see her. You have a huge wife problem. Not the a-hole. Ignore what the kid says, but if your wife isn't stepping up to handle this crap with her ex and her daughter, this is on her. That's my argument. Why is she not stopping her when she tells me to STFU or other insults? I never ever called her names or swore at her, so why is it okay for her to disrespect me? Dude, you are being abused verbally by stepdaughter, and both verbally and emotionally by your wife. Has your wife been tearing you down little by little to the point that you'll accept her abuse? Polish that spine and go. Or embrace pussy-ass bitch and your wife enabling her daughter's horrid and disrespectful behavior. How much cash and time are you laying out for the girl and her abusive mom? My wife is a stay-at-home wife, so I'm responsible for all the expenses and all the extracurricular. She volunteers at her school, so she is busy. Well, she better get a job. She would no longer be a stay-at-home anything. You work and support these people and they treat you like crap? Why the heck is the deadbeat even allowed at your house to begin with? If he wants his kid, he would have to meet her down the road to pick her up. Stop letting them treat you this way. Next story. Am I the a-hole for explaining to my future sister-in-law why her kids will never receive anything from us? I, 27 female, have a brother, 33 male, who has been dating his girlfriend Sarah for 2 years, and he proposed a couple of months ago. Sarah has 2 kids from her previous relationship, an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. I would say that my parents and I are not very close to Sarah and her kids, but we are cordial and have never had any problems before. My partner, my brother Sarah and I attended Easter dinner at my parents', and that's when the drama happened. Sarah's kids were at their father's, so Sarah used this celebration to confront us about my brother requesting a prenup. Basically, my brother explained to her that he expects them to sign a prenup, and that only his biological kids will have the right to inherit anything from our family assets. This is something that we as a family discussed before, and we all agree that only our children should receive assets or money from our inheritance. My brother is free to pay whatever he wants for his stepchildren out of his own money, but my children and his biological children will never have to share anything that our family has with them. Sarah claimed that we are being unfair and that we are treating her and her kids like some strangers instead of embracing them like family. She said that the normal and decent thing to do would be for us to see her kids as my brother's kids, who should have equal rights to any children they may have together. I told her, sure, after she gets married to my brother, she will become our in-law and her kids will be my brother's stepchildren. But this does not mean we have to share anything with them. I asked her, will my future kids receive anything from her parents or from their biological father's parents? She said no, obviously. So I asked her then, why would her kids be entitled to receive anything from us? Sarah said because they will be our family. So I told her that we have plenty of cousins who are also family, but I don't go around wishing to share my inheritance with them. There was a lot more back and forth between us, and Sarah was not letting this go. My brother asked her to stop because we were there to celebrate Easter, not to have this kind of conversation, but she kept on going, saying we need to clarify it once and for all. I told her that from where we stand, everything is clear, and it is only her who has a problem. She said we are greedy and cruel to some kids, and I snapped. I told her to deal with it. She is free to work her butt off and gather assets to leave to her children, but we will never divide anything outside of our family, and she should not expect her children to be our problem or burden to finance. I honestly feel she is very manipulative and is using my brother for what she and her kids can get from him, but that's my brother's problem to decide if this is the kind of partner he wants. I just want to know if I was too blunt in telling her the truth. Now for the top comments. Since you're talking about inheritance from your parents, what you've all decided previously and all want to continue is certainly up to you. Your brother having a prenup and a detailed will is a good idea. Since she brought it up and wouldn't let it drop, not the a-hole. But your title is suggestive of more than that. You'll still give gifts to her kids the same as their kids if they have them, right? You're not going to be obvious they are second-class citizens, right? Of course, we are not monsters, and we don't dislike her kids or consider them second-class citizens. Even now, when they don't have bio kids together, of course we give the kids gifts for their birthdays, Christmas, etc. What my title mentions only applies to inheritance like assets, money, etc. Basically, my brother explained to her that he expects them to sign a prenup, and that only his biological kids will have the right to inherit anything from our family assets. Info: is this even necessary in a prenup? Who your parents leave things to is up to them and not your brother. If there is a family trust, names have to be added to it. If your parents are still alive, if your brother divorces. I don't quite understand how what your parents own would be impacted. My parents clearly mentioned that everything they have will only go to my brother and I, or if any of us dies before them, our share will only go to our bio kids, not stepkids, not spouses, etc. If, for example, I die before having kids, my share will go to my brother or his bio kids so that everything stays in the family and vice versa. My brother and I have also financially contributed to our family assets, so it makes sense that everything should only belong to us. I don't know 100% how these things work, but as far as I understood from our parents, a prenup prevents a spouse to inherit anything in case of one of us passing without having a will. Not the a-hole, but I think you need to stay out of this going forward. This is between your brother and his fiancée. Thinking this through, your sister-in-law could make an argument that your brother's contribution to the family assets could be tied back to her contributions because it's a joint household. This could get super messy. It should be interesting to see what happens next. Last story. Am I the a-hole for choosing my roommate's business over a big family reunion after how my family acted? About 3 years ago, I left my ex. He wasn't a horrible guy or anything, but I was unhappy. He was obsessed with a video game and did some weird things on it. We had a dead bedroom and he wouldn't work on it. And we had basically shifted into being roommates. I didn't have enough saved for my own place, but I knew if I didn't leave, I'd end up stuck. I asked members of my family if I could stay with them until I had things figured out, maybe for about a month, up to 2 months. They all declined, so I lived in my car for a while. My family is big on pull yourself up by your bootstraps, no handouts, accept the consequences of your choices, etc., so I wasn't surprised. I didn't have any local friends to ask. Thankfully, after a few months, my high school friend Penny moved back to town and invited me to be her roommate. That's where I am now. Now for the conflict. My mom asked what I was doing in August because they were trying to get everyone to Florida for a family reunion. They had made reservations and plans under the assumption I'd go. A while ago, Penny asked me if I could help her out at her craft fairs this year. She does 10 to 15 of them, and it's a big to-do. She sells gorgeous jewelry and ceramics. I gladly accepted. I told my mom that I had plans over the summer and wouldn't be able to come. She got angry and asked what plans could be more important than a trip to Florida. I explained what I'd be doing, and she scoffed. She told me this was probably the last time we'd all get to be with some of the older family members, and said I had no sense of familial obligation. Suddenly, there's a family obligation for me to pay to travel to Florida and spend time with people who wouldn't even help me out when I needed it. I went to family dinners where, at the end of the night, I'd leave and go sleep in my car in the Walmart parking lot, and nobody blinked. I brought that up to my mom, and she immediately said that my own bad choices were why I ended up living in my car, and they weren't required to coddle me as a grown woman. I said it goes both ways. She said I was being a petty brat. I ended the call. My sister later called and asked what my problem was and why I'm still holding ancient grudges against the rest of them, and said this trip was supposed to be a big reset for the family. I do know there are a few members of my family I probably won't see again if I don't go. That's the main reason I wonder if I'm just holding on to hurt or if it's justified for me to do this. Am I the a-hole for not going to the family reunion and picking my roommate instead? If this was supposed to be a big reset for the family, they sure went about it in a strange way. Unfortunately, your mother and your sister showed you why you shouldn't feel bad in any way for not wanting to go to the circus. If there are any older family members that you miss, just drop them a card and say you're thinking of them with love and hope to see them soon. Loving, simple, and not involving them in any drama. Then go have fun with your friend. I did the same thing with a friend one year, East Coast craft fairs all summer, selling her jewelry. It was so much fun. Have a blast. Just remember, your friends are the family you choose. Big hug. I've helped her with a few in the past, and they are so much fun. You meet so many interesting people and artisans and make so many connections. I'm really excited to do it. Tell her a vacation at this time is a financially poor decision, and you have no inclination to make another bad decision where you may need help and cannot count on family. This trip is not something that you budgeted for. It was sprung on you at the last minute, without even asking if it was feasible for you, and you have prior commitments. Oh wow, I wish I'd thought of this when we were on the phone, because how could she have argued with that? Damn. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-husband his newest children are nothing to me and my extended family? My ex-husband and I share custody of our 2 children, 12 and 10. Our marriage ended in a way that caused a lot of conflict and resentment. He turned somewhat emotionally abusive when he told me he was done and said he found me disgusting and repulsive, that he had wanted to cheat so many times because the thought of sticking it in me made him want to puke. He'd been off for a little while prior to that, but the outburst was unexpected. It was unsettling because he'd brushed off his mood as work stress, and then he just unleashed all that stuff onto me. He later confessed to cheating twice. Any hope for us to be friendly after the divorce ended with how he ended things. My family all hate him for how he spoke to me, but the kids don't know. I never wanted to drag them into this, and once he wasn't treating them the same way, I was happy they weren't mixed up in everything. After a couple of years, my ex-husband tried to act like nothing bad had gone down, but I put some firm boundaries in place. I don't answer social calls or texts and eventually got a co-parenting app in place to make communication better. I still can't block him, but it means I don't need to respond via text at all. He attempted to act all buddy-buddy when his new wife was expecting their first child together, and he even tried to suggest that my extended family could come to the baby shower. None of them were ever going to go, and I certainly wasn't, but he's had this weird expectation for a while. This bubbled over recently when we were attending a meeting with our youngest child's teacher. My ex-husband complained that my parents had seen him, his wife, and all the kids in public, but hugged our kids and kept things distant with him, his wife, and their children together. He said they were already walking away, but one of his younger kids wanted a hug. He said they never make the effort to be in his younger kids' lives, and he complained that I never make the effort either. He said we're all one family in some way or another. This is where I might have been an a-hole, because I told him his newest children are nothing to me and my extended family. That yes, they are the half-siblings of my kids, but I am not their aunt, or their kind of mom figure, or their family friend. I told him he destroyed any chance for friendship with how he treated me, and that my family wasn't going to forget it either. We didn't talk again about it during the meeting or after. I left immediately. But my ex-husband has texted repeatedly since then, telling me how wrong it is to consider his children nothing, and how our kids must be picking up on it because they treat each other better than the younger kids. That was the first I heard of it, but the repeated texts have gone unanswered by me. Still, I can see where I may have been wrong to say that. So, am I the a-hole? Your ex is a whole new level of delusional holy god. They treat each other better than the younger kids. Obviously, they don't have the same connection. The other kids seem much younger too, so what exactly was he expecting? He expected them to adore the younger kids, and for half to not enter the equation. Incredible. He really thought the divorce wouldn't impact him negatively at all, did he? He wanted it to at first, or to break all ties between us. But then he changed his mind. It's always such a sudden shift with him. I assume he has never even tried to apologize or make up for the wretched way he treated you. Not that it really matters, but it makes his current behavior even more galling. Does his new wife know about how he behaved? That might be one possible avenue to get him to drop this entitled BS. He never tried to apologize. He just started acting one day like we were buddies, instead of him being repulsed by me. I believe she does know, but she and I don't really deal with each other. Not the a-hole. He is a very delusional. I can't understand why he expects you and your family to embrace children that are nothing to do with you. Also, after the way he insulted you, he can go to hell. Because then he and his wife can have alone time, while he sends all the kids to OP and her family. I get the feeling he's looking for babysitters. Next story. Am I the a-hole for dropping our baby off on my ex-husband and demanding he take the baby every other week even though he wants to be an every other weekend dad? This is so messy. My ex-husband, 29 male, and I, 28 female, originally agreed not to have any children. We live in Texas, and this world just isn't a place I wanted to bring a child into. I also never wanted to be a mother. My IUD failed and I got pregnant. I was devastated because I wouldn't be able to get an abortion since we live in Texas. I wanted to travel out of state to get the procedure, and I wanted him to get a vasectomy since I didn't want to risk this happening again. He refused both. He said he wouldn't take me out of state to terminate, and he made me very scared of criminal charges. He also refused a vasectomy to prevent more children, since he didn't want to mutilate himself. Long story short, I filed for divorce a month after the baby was born. It took a little over 2 months for the divorce to be finalized, which was a month ago. The baby is now 4 months old, and the maternity leave that I was lucky enough to have is up. My ex-husband has moved into his own apartment. I live alone in my home that I owned prior to marriage, which I inherited from my grandparents. My ex-husband has been visiting the baby here and there on weekends, but hasn't had the baby overnight ever. I've suggested it, but he refused. To be honest, I don't really like being a mother. The baby and I just haven't bonded much. I've heard that sometimes it takes a while. I've been overwhelmed and needed a break. I tried calling him and talking to him about agreeing to a custody situation. He blew me off and said he'll let me know when he finds a weekend that works for him. I was really angry. I had this baby largely because of him, or I would have gotten an abortion. I love my baby, but I don't want to be a full-time mom. I want 50-50. I work from home as a software developer. I'm lucky enough to be able to watch the baby while I work so I don't have to pay for daycare. But I need time to be productive with my work. So I figure 1 week I can be unproductive while watching my child, and the next week I can work extra hard to make up for it. My job is flexible, so it'll work for me. My ex was dodging my calls, so I took our son and a diaper bag and showed up at my ex's work. He works as a car salesman. He was shocked to see me, and even more shocked when I handed him the baby. I told him, "We're doing 50-50 custody. You have the baby this week. You can drop him off at my house next Monday." He freaked out and said, "Who will watch the baby while I work?" I suggested he pay for daycare if he needs it. He said he can't afford daycare. We argued and I told him to figure it out. If I have to figure out how to be a mom, he has to figure out how to be a dad. His parents are calling me every name under the damn sun. Meanwhile, they don't want to babysit for him. Am I the a-hole? Edit. For all of you suggesting adoption, I tried that while I was pregnant. Ex refused. I couldn't give the baby up for adoption without his permission. Also, I've contacted a lawyer about getting custody formalized, but I haven't heard back. Go to family court and file a custody agreement where you get the child every other weekend and holidays and you pay child support. That should have been ordered as part of your divorce. How did you get divorced without any order about custody of that baby? A child being with a person who doesn't want them or want to parent them is mentally and emotionally destructive. I did not want a baby. I would have gotten an abortion. Those aren't words a child needs to hear from their primary caregiver and mother. Custody was given to me because the baby is so young and I was still on maternity leave. I was told we could revisit it in the next few months, but me having sole custody for a little bit would speed up the divorce. I've since contacted a family law attorney, but I haven't heard back from him. Everyone sucks here. Find a couple to adopt this baby. Neither of you want it and you both suck for keeping it. I suggested adoption initially, and he said he would never agree to it. I can't give the baby up for adoption without his consent, and it's a little late now anyways. Then force custody through the courts, so you can resent the baby less long-term. I don't resent the baby at all. I resent him. I still want to be a mother to my child at this point, and I'm waiting for the bond to happen. I just don't want to be a single parent. I want him to step up the way I'm stepping up. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting a relationship with my dad's other kids because I don't see him as my dad? My dad moved out of state when I, 16 male, was 1. He didn't fight for any custody or visitation until I was 3, and didn't see me at all in those 2 years either. When he got visitation with me, he sent me back early every single time. My mom had to travel states to pick me up early every summer for years. He was supposed to get every other Christmas, but didn't take that time for years either. And the 2 times he did in the last 4-ish years, he sent me back early then too. Just some examples. The custody order stated that he got 6 weeks with me in the summer and 10 days with me every other Christmas. When I was 6, I was at his place for 3 weeks in the summer, and he told Mom he didn't want me there anymore and that she needed to come pick me up. When I was 8, he had me for 10 days one summer, before having Mom come get me. He had plans with some others. When I was 9, he decided 4 weeks was enough and that he was going away with some girlfriend he had at the time, so he needed me gone. 3 years ago, he insisted I go for Christmas and then called Mom after I was there for 4 days, saying I was going home. Even when I was there and he wasn't busy, he didn't spend time with me. The most time we spent together was during meals, and even that wasn't common. Then he got married and his wife and her kids moved in, and I saw him a little more because she insisted I eat at the table with everyone, so her kids wouldn't learn bad manners. She tried to engage with me a little, but I just waited to go home every summer. I knew it'd be early. Mostly she wanted me to play with her kids, who were younger, because they were curious about me. Last year, my dad kept me the full 6 weeks, and he used me for a lot of babysitting or forced me to leave the house with his wife, her kids, and their kids together. The kids were all excited about me being there and wanted to hold my hand and stuff, which I found annoying and weird. I hated it. My dad wasn't there, and it ticked me off so much that I realized he might be technically my dad, but I only have a mom. My mom and I were back in court after my birthday, and the judge changed the order to say I don't have to go anymore, and it's my choice. So now I'm not going. My dad's wife called about it after everything was official, and she asked me to still come for the kids' sake, because they'll miss seeing me. Her kids and their kids together have called me on their mom's or my dad's phone so many times. They called my mom to ask to speak to me too. One of the kids cried a few weeks ago and asked if I really wasn't coming this summer. There was lots of crying. Now my dad's trying to make me go and I told him no. I told him he doesn't even want me there. He just wants to do what his kids want, and I told him that's not how it works. I said he isn't even really my dad. He was arguing with me about being a pain in his butt when his wife came on the phone and said I shouldn't punish the kids for my dad. She said whether I see him as my dad or not, I share blood with some of her kids and have been around her other kids since they were really young. She told me they deserve better. I know the kids did nothing wrong, but I feel nothing for them. I don't love them. I don't like them. I don't find them so sweet or so worth knowing. To me, they're just kids. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. The fact that she had kids with him despite his previous record and relationship with you should have told her that he isn't father material. Not the a-hole. I don't think she cared about the type of dad he was to me, as long as he was better to the kids they have together. How are these kids you barely see so attached to you, OP? Not the a-hole. I know their mom encouraged it. They used to try and follow me around when I was at my dad's house, and the younger kids would try to climb on me and stuff. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not laughing when my husband joked about my hobby job in front of his boss? My husband was invited to this work dinner at his boss's house, and his whole office was invited. My husband has a higher paying job than mine, and it doesn't really bother me because I love what I do, but he does lack interest in my work because of it. The first iffy thing was when we were getting ready. He gave me a check, or something like that, where he gave me the rundown of dinner etiquette. I know dinner etiquette. My parents used to host these kinds of dinners all the time. So, yeah, I know how to act and how to behave. All his coworkers were going to the dinner, and they brought their wives with them, so it was pretty packed. Dinner was nice until we were in the dessert portion. My husband's coworkers started talking about their wives and their hobbies. My husband brought up my hobby. I'm a journalist, and I write stuff once in a while. He talked about some of the stuff I've written, describing it as silly. I didn't say anything and smiled awkwardly, but he just kept going, saying he doesn't read my stuff because he doesn't want to be all up in my head. When we got home, I talked to him about the jokes and said I didn't find them funny. Rather, they felt somewhat offensive and disrespectful toward my work. He told me to learn how to take a joke. I tried to ignore it, so I just kept doing my thing. But then he started getting handsy. I rejected his advances because I was still sour about dinner, and he got upset. So we went on and on about the dinner thing. I wasn't even addressing him making fun of me. I was generally upset over the hobby comment because it's not a hobby. It's my line of work, which I love and am very passionate about. He admitted to maybe being in the wrong for the jokes, but said they were based on fact. I grew up significantly wealthier than him. I do not leech off my parents, nor do they send me money out of free will. My parents have never said or done anything to make him feel inferior, and they get along very well. We met when I was going through some sort of hippie phase. I wasn't talking to my parents, and I did not get along well with them at the time. I was some manic pixie dream girl at the time, and I think he got way too attached to that version of me. I was 25. I'm 32 now. He called me dull and compared me to my mom, which isn't bad in and of itself, but he said it as an insult and said I was becoming a suburban mom. We have a son. He's 2. I feel like he doesn't really appreciate me as a person or care about me as much as a husband should for his wife. I get what he's saying, but I'm getting older. I'm a mom, and I'm advancing in my career and have a lot on my plate apart from that. I do love my husband. I married and started a family with him for a reason, but maybe I took the joke too seriously. I'm not sure if I blew it too out of proportion because I asked friends, and they said that maybe I took it too seriously, etc., etc. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but here is some brutal honesty. You may love your husband, but either he doesn't love you or he's embarrassed by you. He isn't just insecure. He's an outright a-hole. Telling you you're dull, complaining that you're being a mother instead of whatever he thinks you should be, treating you like you're stupid? The joke is just another in a long line of him abusing you mentally because he isn't happy. So why should you be? I'm sorry, but the moment anyone treated me like that, I would walk out. Love is great, only as long as both people feel it and respect the other. He doesn't respect you. If this isn't stopped now, if a boundary isn't put up with strong consequences, then he will continue on this way. He will teach your child one of 2 things. 1, to treat you this way, that you are stupid, that it's okay to treat a future spouse or partner like this, that this kind of behavior is acceptable. Or 2, he will treat your son the same way, make fun of him, not care about how it makes him feel or how it makes him look in front of others. He'll put him down, beat him down emotionally, and the child will think it's their fault, that they deserve it, that they are bad. People can say this is extreme, but the moment he went from take a joke to being angry that you wouldn't have sex with him and then putting you down is the moment this went from a small tiff to outright abusive behavior. This has nothing to do with the jokes he made. This has to do with how he treats you, how he demeans you, breaks you down. This is him abusing you so he can get whatever satisfaction he can from it. This is you needing to take a stand and stop letting him treat you this way. Your child sees and hears more than you think, and your child is learning at a very fast rate. Don't let them grow up thinking this is okay.